So people often ask, what is the Mendocino Mentoring Conference? And it's a lot of things at once. For one thing, it's a multicultural event. That is to say that it brings together younger and older men of various backgrounds, various ethnicities, diverse community backgrounds, divergent economic backgrounds. It brings together, in fact, ex-gang members and university students. It brings together homeless kids and artists. It brings together battle veterans and healers. It's a very diverse group of people. It happens to all be men because it's focused around the idea of older men mentoring younger men into meaningful ways of living. To be a young person in the world right now is to be at risk, girl or boy, wealthy background, impoverished background, it doesn't matter. But if you're a youth of color, you are more at risk. And if you're an African-American young male in this culture, you're severely at risk, as everybody's now seeing play out through all the newsrooms, as a young African-American male is 21 times more likely to be shot by a policeman than any other young person. And so I'm using that to illustrate the fact that all the issues of the culture come into the event. Because it's diverse, everybody brings all the issues in with them. Racism comes in. Homophobia comes in. The kind of vast disparity of wealth comes in. The history of America comes in. We have a diverse faculty that deals with it artistically and creatively. We use creative arts, we use singing, we use African dance, martial arts, we use drumming, and we do a lot of very honest, straight talk to deal with issues that are almost impossible to deal with in the normal everyday life. Inside this remote camp, with only one rule, which is no physical violence, it turns out we can deal with almost any of the issues, and we deal with them not to prove anybody right, not to put blame on anybody, but to get a sense of the importance of each individual life. So built into the event is an understanding that every young person has a natural genius. They're all gifted. They all came to this world to give something. And they found themselves in a world that is confused, often full of hatred, and increasingly full of fear and anxiety. And it's very distressing and very confusing. And this is one place they can come and kind of get a sense of what it really means to be a fully recognized, fully accepted, and even at times blessed human being. What really happens is the pain that people have comes to the surface. Part of it is that the psyche, inside the individual goes, wow, you mean we're going to be real? You mean we're going to take issues head on? You mean people are not going to be judged by their appearance? You mean that people are going to be acknowledging the depth of pain that exists in the culture? You mean that honest words are going to be said and heard? Well, once the psyche hears that, the pain comes to the surface. It turns out that everybody shows up with the issue they're struggling with. I know in the contemporary world, people think you're all going to get better if you get this or you get that. But it turns out that the human soul is always trying to grow. And therefore, the human psyche is always having growing pains if we're actually following our natural instinct to grow. So there's pain in the event, there's no doubt about it. We're talking about dealing with institutionalized racism. We're talking about dealing with injustice. We're also talking about having enough diversity that people have to struggle to find places of agreement. So it's not for everybody. It's an intense place. It is absolutely beautiful because we wrap it in song and we wrap it in poetry and we wrap it in art. And so it's very beautiful. Oh yeah, that's right. We use, there's an introduction into ritual, which is one of the big things missing in the contemporary culture. People think advertising and getting what you think you want is going to solve things, but it doesn't really solve much if it were to work at all. What people normally use throughout history to deal with pain and to find things that are meaningful are ritual forms. And so we use and adapt ritual forms from different cultures. And so it gives us a psychic container in which people can tolerate pains that they might not tolerate at home or in the streets or in some other part of their life. And so naturally the pain comes up. But we work on the idea that the wounds of a person are right next to their greatest gifts. And if the healing of the wounds begins, then the gifts come out in a greater way. And I want to repeat that one of the ideas here is everybody, regardless of skin color, regardless of economic background, regardless even of what they have done in life, has come to this world with gifts to give. And mentoring, the way we think of it, creative mentoring, is partly helping each person find those gifts and learn how to give them in a way that is satisfying and fulfilling to them, but also helpful to the community. So that's another thing to say. This is a radical form of community building that occurs by stepping away from community, getting into touch with nature, and then getting deeply in touch with each person's human nature, and then taking the fruits of that back to the various communities.